Demystifying Gay Porn. My name is Ike Grande, and if you watch gay porn, I've definitely helped you get off. My guest today has probably watched something that I've helped him get off with. Today is another episode of the Summer Sessions. Quick note right before I start, there will be a Q&A after the Summer Sessions. I know that I said after the season is over. However, because I do have a couple episodes left, we will be doing a Q&A after the 5th episode. So watch out for that. It'll be on YouTube and it'll be on a couple of other social media streaming sites, as many as I can handle. Today we're going to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a minute because of the fact that I am involved in the porn industry, and I have been for 15 years. And while I've been involved, most of the time, for the most part, for half of that time, I was single. And I find myself in this boat as well. We're going to talk about the rise of the pornosexual because it is the digital age, and it's no surprise that the accessibility of free online porn has made it very, very easy for people to get their fix. Pornhub, all their, like, whenever they do year-end reviews, their sites get billions upon billions of hits, and so many people are watching porn. I think it started from the VHS era, but the digital age or the digital era just blew it away. So my guest today is, we can call him either a pornosexual or a solosexual, but please help me welcome Timmy, who is going to talk to us a little bit about himself. Timmy, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
I'm very happy that you wrote me an email and an Instagram message.
Yes, both.
Good.
I reached out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You got to get me at all fronts. If you can get me at all fronts, I know that you're serious, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
I emailed you back and I messaged you back, like I said, off air, because I have been looking for pornosexuals and people who are considered solosexuals. And just to give a quick definition, these are people or kind of an orientation of people who are single, and they have the pleasure of pleasuring themselves. They watch porn. They're kind of in a relationship with porn. So I've been wanting to talk to somebody that describes themselves, or the description that you sent me fit into solosexual / pornosexual. So this has been in the works for longer than you've emailed me or messaged me. So here we are. Timmy, talk to me a little bit about your relationship with porn before we break it down.
Okay. Well, I'm 64 years old, so I go way back before VHS tapes, honestly. Mm-hmm. So magazines were my first introduction to any kind of porn. And you had to jump through hoops just to get those. Then VHS tapes came out, and I bought my first one and was kind of hooked from that point on. And then, of course, once the internet came out and the smartphones and the streaming and all that shit, that just took it to a whole new level, because it's so accessible now, as you know. I mean, everyone's a porn star. It's out there. It's
you're
everywhere.
Absolutely right. Everybody wants to be a porn star, and not everybody is a porn star, but what constitutes a star at this point? I mean, if you have a lot of hits, if you have a lot, I get what you're saying to me. I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, and I don't really do the fan sites like the OnlyFans and the Desperate Fans, because I don't know. They don't give me enough for the money, so I stick to the other stuff. So
okay, all right. So let's start with So you're a 64-year-old man, gay for how long? When did you come out of the closet?
I came out of the closet in 1982. Good timing, because it was like, right smack during the AIDS epidemic. Mm-hmm. But I came out in 82, but I've always known I was gay from the get-go.
How did you know you were gay? What was that inkling? What was that moment where, because everybody has that moment, or at least I can remember. If you don't have it consciously, it's definitely subconscious. But where did that moment exist, and what did you see that made you think, huh?
Well, when I think back on it, it's like I always, even before I had like a sexual attraction, but before I had that, I had a fascination with boys. There were certain boys in my class or on TV that I was really interested in. I wanted to get to know them. I wanted to dress like them. I wanted to have their hairstyle. I even wanted to fucking smell like them. They had a great cologne on. So I was always had this fascination. And then when the sexual stuff started kicking in at whatever age, 13, 14, then it was went to a different level. So I've always known that I was attracted to guys.
Did you have any older brothers?
I did. I had two older brothers, but they were much older than me.
Okay. All right. So they were a little older than you. By how much? What was the age difference?
One was 9 years and one was 14 years.
Okay. All right. So they were. Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't remember them living at home. Really.
So they weren't there to kind of this mold of guys that you were watching. They weren't really there to make that mold. You created
no.
Okay, you created it by other guys. Friends and school people or school friends as well.
I had a lot of school friends, but you mean were they gay or did I?
Well, no, they were your first crushes.
Yeah, they were my crushes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I always had an attraction to the fucking bullies. But I think that's kind of a common thing. I've heard this over and over. The guys that were the meanest were like the jocks and the alpha male, and that's the attraction I have for those assholes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we'll break it down from there because I think, or we'll build it up from there actually, because now I'm, little by little, we're going to get to the kind of porn that you watch or the kind of guys that you're into. But I want to start with the magazines because I didn't even factor in magazines. Are we talking beefcake magazines? What kind of magazines are we talking about?
The one that was really the big name magazine that was really popular was called Blue Boy, and it was a gay oriented magazine, and it had guys they weren't like sucking dick or anything like that, or having anal penetration, but it was very, very close. I mean, it was very suggestive. That was one of the ones I used to get.
So like soft porn.
Well, yeah.
Or was it more centerfold and you were kind of staring at really nice looking guys?
No, it didn't have the centerfold. It was just I don't know how to describe it. It was just like almost like they were filming a gay porn movie, but they took pictures of it. But I don't remember any of them ever like having a cock in their mouth or anything like that. It was real close.
Okay.
Like he was just getting ready to go in there, but it wasn't full on.
It was soft. It was soft.
Yeah. So it was just close enough to get you interested.
Okay. All right. Blue Boy magazine. How did you get your hands on your first Blue Boy magazine and when?
Lord. Yeah, I was working in a mall in California. I lived in California for many years. Right out of high school, I moved there. I was working in a mall and they had just a bookstore there, just a regular bookstore magazine stand. And I was in there and I saw a way high on a top shelf with like a cover over it where they had adult content. And I happened to see, I took a look, and most of it, of course, was like Penthouse, Playboy, all that shit. But there was a Blue Boy on there, and I looked at it, and I was like, got really excited, and then looked around to make sure no one was looking at me, put it back, and went back to the store where I was working at. And then it took me some courage I had to work up my courage to go back a few weeks later and buy one. Yeah.
What did that feel like?
I was nervous as fuck.
Yeah.
And the guy that was in the store, the manager, he was really hot. And we knew each other because we both worked in the mall. I'm like, oh my God, he's going to ring me up with this Blue Boy magazine. Oh my God.
Was he gay too, or did you? Yeah. Okay. So
I think so. I mean, I didn't ask him because it was just a different time, but yeah, I'm sure.
Now, when you did find that Blue Boy magazine, were you out by that point? What year are we talking? Where does this put us?
No, this is before I was out.
Okay. I'm assuming that wasn't your first and only tryst with Blue Boy magazine.
That was my very first time that I got it.
But not your last time.
No, I got a couple more.
Okay. All right. So your introduction to porn, let's say, or nudes was soft porn via Blue Boy magazine. And then are you already going through puberty at this point?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I was probably 19 or 20.
Okay. Did you lock the door extra tight, or did you put on a double?
Hell yeah. I hit that motherfucker like you wouldn't believe it, like Fort Knox in my bedroom just to get. Yeah, I hit it.
what were your parents like? Or what are your
But
parents like?
my parents were really great and supportive people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So growing up, did they have any inkling that their son was
Um,
gay?
I don't know. I would think so. Um, when I was 17, I cut my wrist, tried to commit suicide
Oh.
because I wanted to be able to tell them, or
Hmm.
I didn't want to die or anything like that, but I needed to. It was my only way that I could figure out how to tell them that I was gay,
Okay.
and I did, and they were like, "Well, we will. It's probably you're probably just going through a phase, and we will get you into a psychiatrist, and we'll talk about it and this and that." And I did that, and the treatment was pretty awful. We're talking a long time ago,
Hmm.
and it was going to go into what they call what did they call it? It's not. I think it was called conversion therapy, where you would be shown images of gay porn, and they would like uh, send electric shocks through you or shit like that. It was awful stuff.
They did that to
Um,
you?
no, but I saw where it was going.
Okay.
I It was heading in that direction. So I said, you know what? It was a phase. I'm better. I'm cured, and that was the end.
How long after 17 did you revisit that with your parents?
That was after moved to California. I moved there when I was 18, and I was 22 when I came out. And that's when yeah, and it made it much easier because I was 3,000 miles away,
Hmm.
you know,
So it
and
was a
so
phone
that
call. It was a phone call?
it was just a phone call.
Okay. All right. Well, that way they can't throw you into therapy
That's
or
true.
conversion therapy, you know? Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what part of California are we talking? Are we talking the
Los
Castro
Angeles,
or okay, Los Angeles?
Los
How
Angeles.
what was it like your first taste of freedom outside of your 18 moving out to Los Angeles in
Oh my God,
what year is
it was
this?
1977.
Okay. What was that
Mhm.
like?
It was a bit of a culture shock, but it was great. I mean, I always knew I was never going to stay in Ohio. I I love my family, and I love. There's nothing wrong with Ohio, but it was very rural. There was nothing here for me. It was just farms or factories, and I was very creative, and I wanted to be in the entertainment business. And I just always, from the time I can remember, I knew I was going to move to Los Angeles.
Mhm.
There was just no question in my mind. So yeah, I went out there, and uh, and it was great. I loved it.
What was the sexual atmosphere like?
Well, nothing for me at first because it took me. I moved there when I was 18 and didn't come out, so I was 22.
Okay. So you didn't have
So
any trysts, any kind of DL moments at the back
no,
of oh really? Wow.
no. Mm-mm.
Wow, you hid those urges. You you controlled them, huh?
Now, when I came out at 22, I was a whore. I swear to God, anything that was standing, if it wasn't glued down, I
Anything.
was doing it.
Oh, I love it. Kick a hole in the wall and fuck it.
I tell you what, shit. Yeah, and I didn't seem to have any problem. I was really popular. I was young and pretty, and so yeah, it was good.
Wow. Okay. What was okay? So 22 is the start of your sexual experiences with other guys.
Yeah,
That's we're talking what year? Where does this put us now?
about 1982, something like
Okay.
that.
All right. 1982. Then of course, slowly starting to get into the AIDS epidemic.
Hmm. Hmm.
What happened to your sex life around that time?
It was awful. We could do a whole podcast on all that shit,
Hmm.
but it was bad because when I came out, the AIDS epidemic wasn't in full swing. There was whisperings about it, but nobody had really it hadn't hit. And so I came out, made all these wonderful friends, hot guys, beautiful guys, slept with some of them, didn't with others, and then they just all started dying. And I'd slept with a couple that died, and there were no tests. And so I was like, I guess I'm next. And then I had to like bury my friends. It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
And you lived with what?
I lived
Because
with a roommate. I lived with the roommate that I knew well.
well, I mean, you lived with that fear because you had slept with
I'm
some
sorry.
guys that died.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It was wasn't a good time. it was pretty terrifying. And to see the guys that you just met and they were really friends with, and they were vibrant and beautiful men, just wither away, and they would get the lesions all over their bodies and go down to 80 pounds and die.
Hmm.
And then I thought that was in store for me. And I'm like, well, I guess that's for me next. But I dodged the bullet. I don't know. And then I felt guilty because I made it.
Yeah, survivor's guilt. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. It wasn't a good time.
Not to jump around too much. I'm glad that we did touch on that, but I also think that contributes a lot to what happens in the next generation of gay porn. Can I ask you, when was the first time you watched a gay porn video?
Oh, that was probably, I don't know, maybe another year after I came out or so. Something. As soon as VHS came out, I got, and then that's when I watched the porn video.
So VHS was your introduction to porn video, not because in the 70s there was a string of porn videos, or gay porn especially, that were very popular, very successful in movie theaters, and they weren't being busted. They weren't being busted down by the cops or anything. But VHS was your first time.
It was,
and you were home alone.
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember the first porn you ever watched?
Oh God, yes. Yeah, I wore that damn thing out. It was called The Grease Monkeys with Kip Knoll, and I can't remember who else it was in it. Today it would seem ridiculous, but it was really good. And yeah, that's the first one I got.
The Grease Monkeys.
The Grease Monkeys. Oh, they were all mechanics, and and everything you can imagine happened at that gas station. It was pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fascinating. Like I told you before off air too, is the research that I've been doing for season 4, because I am going to touch a lot on gay porn history. The research is so good. There's not a lot out there. There's not a lot of scholarly interest. Let's just say there's, believe it or not, we owe a lot of what we have from the 1800s to 1900s, like the early 1900s, to what is now called pig collectors, because that's practically what they were. They were collectors who had private collections of pictures and stuff, and they would trade them between themselves. But when they would die, a lot of times the families that didn't know probably anything about the secret life that these guys had would get rid of them, but some of them actually kept them, and they're in museums, and it's fascinating. It's all too fascinating.
Wow, that is interesting. I've heard about when they started the magazines, the mail order magazines, way back in, like, I think the 50s and 60s, but I didn't know it went back that far.
Yeah, well, AMG with Beefcake magazine, that was really big. Bob Miser. But but before that, there was before there was actual porn, there were obviously, those avant-garde filmmakers like Hollywood Babylon. What's his name?
Oh shit! Angler.
Yeah, well, before Kenneth Anger, Andy Warhol.
Yes.
All these guys were making these avant-garde experimental films that did touch on homosexuality. They didn't really go, kind of like the first couple of Blue Boy magazines that you got. They didn't really show any penetration, but there was a lot of insinuation.
Right.
So let's get back to Grease Monkeys. And the reason why I brought up a little bit of history is because Grease Monkeys, and the way you described it, it was a time of putting gay people, especially in gay porn at this point. Grease Monkeys is a perfect example of putting gay men in a very masculine setting.
Oh yeah.
Because that's exactly who you might want to be gay, are these guys that are working on your cars, working on these phallic symbols, these extensions of what it is to be like a really macho man.
Oh yeah.
So, and
it wasn't just mechanics, but there was the policemen, and there were the Marines, and it was hyper masculine.
But Grease Monkeys was your first, and then from there, And I think it's ironic because we are talking about you being a pornosexual or a solosexual. Your first porn was in the privacy of your own home, and you I'm assuming you went to town.
Yeah, yeah, it was good. It was real good. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then
And I got, I was alone, so I could just worry about myself. And that's one of the things. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more. But that's the best part is I don't have to. I can put my head in my own space.
mhm. And another thing or another reason why I feel like a lot of men your age will tend to be either sides or very comfortable with being alone sexually.
Hmm.
And I think it's because of what we mentioned before, what we spoke about AIDS.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right because we went from just having hypersex everywhere all the time. It was the go-to to, oh my God, I'm going to die if I have sex.
Mhm.
Don't do it anymore. The bathhouses went, the poppers went, the bars went. I mean, so it was just a 180. It affected people. And yeah. So yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, and even the porn that was coming out at that time was very reflective of because porn, gay porn, no matter how you stretch it, because it's subversive, because it was so restricted, and it has a history of being restricted. Whether they know it or not, the people that are making porn, and this is why I've done a complete 180 when it comes to porn, and why I feel like there's a responsibility. There is a mirror that we are holding up because if you watch Grease Monkeys today, you will remember the experience, right? You will understand, oh wow, this is how guys are. It's almost like a time capsule of how men hooked up in those
Yeah,
days,
you're right.
in the early
Yeah.
80s. And then so when we have the AIDS epidemic, porn becomes solo porn. There's now guys that are sitting in front of a camera and
Yep.
they're touching themselves and jerking off. There's more suck videos, and then of course condoms.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you went into the whole condom thing, right?
So when you were watching porn in the 80s, which one did you prefer? Did you prefer watching guys like solo? Did you prefer because condoms I know can destroy the fantasy.
Uh-huh.
So I'm curious. Did you like watching another guy touch himself while you touched yourself, or did you go with the porn that involved condoms?
I went with the porn that involved condoms, even though I would much rather it doesn't.
Hmm.
I really like the spontaneity when they don't have, the performers don't have to wear condoms. Like you're doing a group scene, and I like when one guy goes in and then another guy goes in. Well, you don't really when you have to take your condom off and the other guy has to suit up. You kind of lose that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I preferred, but I wasn't crazy about just watching a solo.
I think the way they were shot back then too was very different. I
Mhm.
think there was a lot of trial and error when it came to that. Especially if you watch them, I can't watch an '80s solo film to save my life. I can watch one now on Pornhub or X Hamster or something, or even an OnlyFans guy jerking off. I think that what they tried to do in the '80s was glamorize, with the music in the background, the slow
Yeah,
mo.
yeah.
They over sexualize something that you kind of want to get done.
They did. And I can definitely watch a hot solo scene now. It's no problem. But back then, yeah, and they had that horrible music.
Yeah, I can hear the music in my head right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to bring it back real quick, condoms and gay porn in the '80s. I'm sure you're well, '80s and early to mid '90s,
Right.
because it wasn't until we got into. Funny enough, I think Dickwad and Treasure Island Media were the first two studios that were doing condomless
Yes.
porn,
Uh-huh.
and it didn't take all of the studios up until the late '80s to get to using condoms, where they became almost politicized. Because I'm sure you remember watching movies where you would watch the guy put the condom on,
Yes, I
like
do remember that.
like they made a point to show you, hey, we're doing this and we're doing it right.
Yes, and actually, I even saw them say, I can't remember if it was on an interview or whatever. We want to show that to make sure guys know that it is just as sexy to fuck with the condom on and off and make it part of the ritual and blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever.
I think they did what they I don't know. I seem to think, and maybe it's just that I'm jaded about it because there is a lot of money involved in this industry.
Oh, sure.
I feel like they did what they had to do, and some wanted, obviously, but I think a lot of them absolutely were like, oh, well, this is what we have to do. But that's for another podcast.
That's a whole nother ball game.
Exactly.
Right?
So VHS, how many VHS tape do you have them? Are you a collector? Do you have VHS?
No, I finally got rid of them, and I still kept the magazines occasionally. I got one that was the actors are still around, men, and they do movies to their studio. So they would like actually shoot pictures of the actual filming. So I had a whole stack of magazines, and I had quite a few VHS tapes, but I got rid of them a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to say, wow, that would have been an amazing collection, but I can only imagine the amount of space that would take up. And
it was taking up a shitload of space. And I really, I was crying all the way to the dumpster when I threw them away.
Did you keep your favorite ones though? Did you keep your favorite ones?
I didn't. I was moving from a big house to a smaller house. This has just been recently. This was only like 6 years ago that I got rid. And this is like 20 years worth of porn. I mean, it would probably be worth money to a vintage porn person.
Yeah. Wow. No. Yeah. I can only imagine. That takes a lot of strength, especially today with porn addicts. People who collect a lot of porn on drives, and I was guilty of that for a little while. But slowly but surely, you clean stuff out. It's great to like stuff, but moderation, just like anything else.
Everything in moderation, right?
Absolutely. So let's talk about what about DVDs? What was what were the 90s porn? What was the 90s porn era like for you?
Well, I didn't get that many DVDs, but I got into a relationship in 1988, and we were together for 26 years.
Okay.
So I didn't really feel like I should be like bringing porn home constantly. He knew. I mean, we'd stop at a bookstore somewhere and get some, and I would bring it home. So I did, but I didn't have a huge collection.
So now I'm fascinated by this because you were in a relationship, yet you didn't watch, or you didn't feel the need to watch porn.
Oh, no. That never went away.
Okay.
But I just had to be very sneaky about it. Honestly, I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
Why did you think you were going to hurt his feelings?
Because I felt like we should be having sex instead of me getting off to porn. So even though knowing him like I do and did, I don't think he would have really cared that much. But in my mind, it was almost like a betrayal to him. Almost like cheating on him in a weird way,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I think that's something that, if you relate it to today, I think it's been worked into relationships. For instance, myself and my boyfriend, we were single, both of us separately. We were single for a long time, between relationships. And I identified, or I classified myself as a pornosexual looking back, because I did have a relationship with porn. I would come home after, the first couple of years working in the industry, I really didn't have an interest because my work was my sex life. But then after that, after kind of finding amateur porn and watching that and being like, wow, I'm fascinated by this, I would set aside some time, come home, jerk off for a little bit. He did the same thing. So when we came into this relationship, we gave ourselves, okay, well, tonight's I'm going to need some time tonight. I'm like, all right, cool. And then I'll go and I'll work or something. So 2 days out of the week, I think we have days where, watch porn, go for it. Because I wouldn't want him to tell me I can't watch porn.
Right. And, I don't know. It was a different era then. It's much more accepted now. Since the internet, I mean, everything's changed. It's much more accepted. And like I said, we got together in 1988, way before the internet. And porn still had a stigma, and it made them a hang up of mine. Like I felt that I was just it was wrong for me to do that so much when we were in a relationship. But he knew I did. I mean, otherwise, why would I have the porn?
Hmm.
But yeah, so I still did, but not as much as when I've been single.
During your relationship, did that loosen up?
What did me
Yeah, like
did what?
did you get more comfortable with porn per se, signing up for a membership here or there online in your own time?
No, I never did that. I used the tapes that I had, from before in the magazines. I continued to get magazines and a few of the DVDs that I had, and I would watch porn and beat off like when he was gone,
Hmm.
or if we lived in a really big house, if he was downstairs and I was quote unquote napping, and he walked in on me a few times. He
Yeah.
didn't give a shit. So I think it was more of my hang up.
I do want to get into a little bit about we've talked a little bit about you moving out to California. Did you end up becoming, or did you end up doing what you went to California for?
No, not really. I wanted to get into the entertainment business. I would either be an actor or a musician or something like that. I did do some modeling,
Hmm.
but I wasn't ambitious enough to. I didn't have enough drive, and I did theater and stuff like that. But I didn't have enough drive to really pursue that shit.
Hmm.
And then eventually I got into a job that ended up being my whole career. But my initial goal when I went out, no, I did not.
When you met your partner of 26 years, when you were in a relationship,
Mhm.
how did that come about? How'd you meet
We
her?
met at a gay bar. Yeah, we met at a gay bar, and I had just got out. Yeah, and just fell in love. It was kind of instantaneous.
Very interesting because you were with him for 26 years. What was do you mind if I ask why did it end?
It's a little complicated, but in a nutshell, drugs. We both became addicted to prescription drugs. It's a little bit of a long story, and just pissed it all away after within 3 years, it was over. So we had 23 years of being in like the best, loving, compassionate, trusting relationship, best friends, all of that shit. And within 3 years of the drugs, it was over.
Do you mind if I ask what was it? Were they painkillers? Were they something
There
that
was a
was
whole bunch. It was painkillers. We had a doctor. He had issues. She put him on painkillers, put me on painkillers, but a bunch more. I mean, there was OxyContin, there was Percocet, there was Valium, there was Xanax, there was Baclofen, there was Ambien, all at once, all in one. Yeah. So there was a shit ton.
wow? And this doctor didn't see anything wrong with this, I guess.
No, and I even went to rehab to get off of the Percocet, and she knew it and put me back on them.
Really? Okay. Well, talk about
Yeah,
neglect or
that's
negligence, right?
yeah.
Did you so you on your way to recovery? Did your partner as well recover?
I recovered after we broke up, and I sure hope he did too, for his own sake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a good ending.
No, not really. He left me for a 19-year-old. He was 40, and the 19-year-old was my friend.
Oh boy.
So
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I am very sorry about that.
Thank you.
But
It was
but
tough.
but also yeah, no, it's I can only imagine. How are you now? How are you feeling now?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't even take any prescription drugs now. So if I needed them, I would, but I fortunately don't. So I
But
don't have to take anything.
did you or do you remember having an addictive personality at any point?
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, forever. As soon as I had my first drink, I fell in love with it. And that's because I don't want to, ramble too much, but that's because I was gay in a small town. I was afraid to open my mouth because I thought I sounded gay. So I was very quiet. Very hard for my friends to believe that now, but I wouldn't talk. And as soon as I got that alcohol in me, it loosened me up. And I was finally able to at least talk to people when I was drunk.
Mhm.
I'm not even particularly drunk, but just buzzed. And I think it started then. And I've had a love affair and an addictive personality ever since.
But you steered, or you didn't really find prescription drugs until so much later on.
It was, yeah, the prescription drugs came later.
Okay, any
Yeah, but I was still, I think the alcohol set a pattern
okay,
for me, you know.
any recreational drugs in between the alcohol and the prescription drugs?
Oh, hell, in the 80s
Mhm.
in Los Angeles, cocaine was everywhere. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere without putting white powder up your nose. Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I figured I'd ask because it didn't come up, so I was like, huh, okay, because
Yeah.
I
Oh, yeah.
that would be a big jump if there
Mhm.
wasn't anything in there. But
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so you've struggled with addiction, you lost, or you have a relationship that broke because
Mhm.
of the addiction,
Mhm.
and then here we are. You are out of a relationship, and do you embrace being somebody who watches porn and alone with
Yes.
yourself? Okay, tell me
Yeah.
what the best part is about that.
I think, and let me just make myself very clear on this. I have nothing against real sex,
Mhm.
and I had a bunch of it. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I still will. It's not like it's out of the picture. But what I like about just watching porn and getting myself off is that, and I think a lot of orgasms and shit like that are mental. You have to be in a good mental place to really have a good orgasm. And when I'm alone and watching porn, I can just, I don't have to worry about anybody else. I don't have to worry about I'm pleasing somebody, if they're pleasing me, and all that shit. And I can put my head in this great place and just go. And I think that's why it works so well.
When did you start? Was it right after your relationship? Is that when you were like, okay, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do me.
Yeah, yeah, it really kind of was because then I didn't have to sneak around to do it. I was like, I can do it whenever, wherever. I got a 55-inch screen in my bedroom. I can stream it right onto that motherfucker. I
Oof.
can look on my phone. I can pull up anything I want. I can just type in a search for whatever I feel like watching today. If I want to watch, like, I don't know, pick a subject, anything,
Oh, we
any kind
will. We will. We're
of,
we're
any
getting
kind
into
of
that.
kink, any kind of whatever, and I can just, it's all there. There's so much variety. So yeah, I can just watch whatever I want.
Let's get into that a little bit because I want to know now that because you're sitting there, you're home, you're in the comfort of your room. No one's there to
Mhm.
bother you. You can look at whatever you want. What's the first thing that
Right.
you're looking at?
Well, I I tend to watch a lot of Fraternity X. Are you familiar with them at all?
I'm familiar with Fraternity X. Yes.
Okay, the fucking college dudes. I know it's so staged and it's so ridiculous, but I like it. And sketchy sex, those like young, I'm gonna fuck you up. Goes back to the bully thing, I
Yeah,
think.
it
My
does.
dude.
That we
Um,
just came full circle. You saw that?
I do, I do. Hey, I'm not a dummy. Yeah, so that and I just those are the ones that I tend to go to the most. And then straight guys, anything that's where there's a straight guy getting sucked off, or you're doing a straight guy, and straight guys got you.
So we're
That kind of thing.
talking. Ooh, there's so many sites, but I'm thinking of the ones that I've actually interviewed: Military Classified, Beefcake
Yep.
Hunter.
Oh, because I love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
isn't he
awesome. The
great?
guy does a great job.
Yeah, he's such
Boy,
such
can he
a
give a blowjob? Jesus.
such a nice guy too. Such a nice guy. Big old cocksucker, but such a nice guy.
He does a good job.
So does Military Classified though. I
Yeah,
can't.
watch him too. I have definitely seen a few of those. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of stuff out there. So I was curious as to what you go for. So
Yeah,
when you
New
when
York City Straight Man is another one that's kind of on that same vein. I don't know if you're familiar with
New York
that.
City Straight Man, no, I'm
Mhm.
not, but I will look them up.
Yeah.
Now Fraternity X and Sketchy Sex. Are you the bottom getting fucked by all of those guys, or are you in that group fucking the bottom?
No, oddly enough, because I don't bottom, I am the bottom in my fantasy.
Huh.
Yeah.
How does that work?
I don't know. I mean, it's not like I don't know. I, I, I have bottomed many, many times, but I haven't in a long time. So maybe that's why I just relive it through the porn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you,
Mhm.
what was your experience like being a bottom when you did?
Um, it was good. I mean, it was good. When I first came out, was the first thing I wanted to do, you
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
And I did, and then I did it on and off, for years. But I always kind of preferred the top. It was just a little easier. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm always curious because now when you tell me which one you are,
Mm,
all I think about is control
mm,
or loss of, for instance.
mm,
And we go back to those bullies that you liked, all those guys. We go back to Grease Monkeys, one of the first
uh-huh.
porns that you watched.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of a pattern when it comes to the porn that you do watch, and I think it's very fascinating because
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it's really all about this hyper alpha kind of fuck you up type guy,
Mhm.
and just giving yourself over to him. Just take my whole, you own it, own both of them, do whatever you want, kind of shit. It's just fantasy crap.
So it's fantasy. Would you ever find yourself in that position? Oh, no pun, but would you ever find yourself in that position again?
I had been offered to be in that position a few times with parties and stuff, and I always said no. And here's why: because I think it's going to be a lot better in my head, fantasy wise, than in reality. I think if I was to actually go and do that, I would not enjoy it like I think I would enjoy it.
You wouldn't be
So
able to
no, I think
walk for a couple of days either.
I know. And these parties were pretty sketchy. There were some drugs
Okay.
involved, and I didn't want to get into that whole scene. So, yeah. So I've never done that in reality, but boy, is it fun to fantasize about.
Yeah, and curious. After you come, how is
Mm.
it? Does it all just go away?
What?
Like those ideas, like the minute you're done, you're like, phew, okay, and you're not thinking about being submissive anymore. You're not fantasizing about being this guy that's being bullied.
No, no. It's done when I knock one off. It's
Okay.
pretty much done. Yeah.
How active are you with yourself to this day?
How active am I with what?
With yourself, how many times do you jerk off in a week?
Oh, it kind of varies, but almost every day.
Okay.
Um, at least once a day, and sometimes I'll go for like 3 or 4 days. Not so much, and then I'll go like every day, and so fairly active. But I'm certainly not what I would consider to be a porn addict, because it's not something I'm doing constantly.
Mhm.
It's not affecting my life in any negative way. It's just something I prefer.
This was very interesting because, hey, I was just thinking VHS and digital era, and
Mhm.
you took it back to magazines
Yeah,
because they
yeah,
were
I go
very,
way back. I
yeah,
mean, way, way the fuck
but
back.
they were
Yeah.
very important. They were very important in the setup for what gay porn is today.
Hmm. It's been a whole evolution, and it is interesting. Like you said, it goes back to the 1800s, which I didn't understand, I didn't realize. But that whole evolution of gay porn is fascinating. If people would look at it and
Mhm.
find out more.
Oh yeah, and I can't even imagine. A lot of times I struggle with making. The porn industry. What it is today is basically putting it all out there, putting as much out there as you can, and with
Right?
that, of course, quality suffers. And
Yeah.
we're doing, I don't know, 3 or 4 updates a week. You're not going to get the best. It's almost like we're just giving you what you want. So we
It's
are.
become cookie cutter.
Yes, it's
Cool.
become cookie cutter, but it's also we are allowing for quality to suffer because you want quantity. And that bothers me so much because especially knowing that there were slew of people that came before me that
Mhm.
either couldn't put their name on anything because you would get arrested because of obscenity
Right.
laws,
Yeah.
or they did get arrested, they went to jail or were
Yeah.
killed. God only knows. God only knows. But there
Yeah.
was
We've come
definitely,
so far. Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
yeah, we've come so far, and then what have we done? We've made it as generic as we can in
Yeah.
order
Just
to
remember to
in order to
Yeah.
please the masses.
Right. Right. And if they just, how many productions do they have to keep pumping out? There's so much porn out there now. They should just reel it in, give you the time to make what you need to make, this quality, and give us something new.
Yeah, well, there are a couple studios out there that can do that. That
Mhm.
absolutely do. But again, it all comes down to money. And if
Right.
you are, and once you say, and I tell a lot of these performers who do OnlyFans videos, once you start putting out 3 videos a week, you're going to
Mhm.
be putting out 3 videos a week for the rest of your time doing porn, because
That's right.
now you've spoiled your audience, and
Mhm.
you're going to have to keep doing it, and you're going to have to
Yeah, and you
keep.
set a precedent. Once you
Yeah.
do it, they're going to expect that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Wow. So, Timmy, thank you so much. I absolutely appreciate you coming on and doing this interview with me. It's been eye opening, and I'm glad I learned something from you. I appreciate that.
Well,
There's so much knowledge in people, and when you hit me up, when you messaged me, I was like, I need to talk to this guy.
I'm so glad you did, and I really, really am thrilled to be able to do this. If I can, with your podcast going out, I've learned so much about kinks that I never learned about. And if somebody can learn something from this and maybe feel like they're not alone,
Mhm.
that there's nothing wrong with watching porn and preferring that, and they're not just sick and twisted or weird, that's great. I hope that can happen. I hope that can help some people.
Timmy, I have to thank you very, very much for coming on the show and telling us about your experience with porn, your healthy relationship with porn, where it started and where it is now. Guys, you can find us on every podcast directory. We're on YouTube for social media. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all those fun places. Anywhere they'll allow me to put up my dog and pony show, I will pull it up. So again, demystifying gay porn. My name is Like Grande, and if you watch gay porn, I've definitely helped you get off.